will never be friends with America. We know what America did here in Liberia and the whole African continent. We know what Europe did. We know what the British have done to our continent, and therefore will never support colonialism in whatever way possible.
Welcome to Voicetv Nigeria, and thank you for joining me once again. What I have for you today is the bold, unapologetic, prominent South African politician and leader of the economic freedom fighter, Julius Malema, who recently paid a visit to Liberia. And you know what you should be expecting from such a visitation coming from an indomitable and fearless Malema. He didn't waste a second in throwing a straight bullet at the Western nations, Europe and the US. In fact, he spills out without looking back, saying Africa will never ever be friends with the West. Please watch for yourself.
We'll never be friends with America. We know what America did here in Liberia and the whole African continent. We know what Europe did. We know what the British have done to our continent, and therefore will never support colonialism in whatever way possible.
It's obvious African leaders are giving it hot this time around. I don't know the motivator behind these agitations, but I guess we have come a long way, yes. So it's our time, it's Africa's time to rise above economic limitations, just as Malema stated. Few hours ago, if you would recall, if you followed my previous post, it was Museveni, the president of Uganda. And now we are talking about the freedom fighter, Malema. Let's hear some more.
Members of Parliament must make sure that Parliament works for the people. It holds the executive accountable. They must not be sweethearts of the president and ministers. They must look after the resources of the people by holding those in the executive accountable. If you are a member of Parliament and you seek favor and you want to be liked by the president or a minister, you must know you have already failed. We are not in Parliament. I'm in Parliament myself. We're not in Parliament to be liked. We're in Parliament to make sure democracy works. And democracy can only work if the resources of the state are looked after. How do we ensure that? Parliament must always watch over the executive on how it utilizes the state resources. If it utilizes state resources for family benefit and individual benefit and friends benefit or patronage, then the EFF and the members of Parliament must make sure they make the loudest noise against corruption and using the money of the resource of the state for the benefits of certain individuals who are close to the executive.
If you listen to Malema's Pan-Africanism speech, there were three key words: colonialism, neocolonialism, and democracy. Now, colonialism creates a power dynamics where the colonizer
were dependent
holds
on
all the
exports
power
and commodity-based
colonized
economies,
are
which were
reduced to
susceptible
objects
to
of
political
exploitation.
instability.
Neocolonialism
As a result,
maintains
colonization
the
of
same
Africa had a
oppressive
profound
system,
impact on
but
African
operates
societies.
under the guise of economic
It is
and
also a
cultural
catalyst
dominance,
for a number of
while
political and
democracy
cultural
in its
changes.
simplest form entails
Although colonialism
freedom,
was
but
relatively
are
short-lived,
Africans totally
the effects
free
on
from
Africa
the grips
remain
of
negative.
white nation?
In
Now,
human
African
societies,
countries
power
are no
is the
longer
ultimate
under the
determinant
umbrella
of
of
relations
colonialism,
within and
but
between groups.
neocolonialism.
It
Yes,
determines how
indirectly,
maneuverable
because
a
we
group can
might
be
see
in
ourselves
negotiations
as
and the
free,
degree of respect
but
and
we
survival
are
among
not
people.
totally free
Losing
from
power
the grips
during
of our colonial
colonization
masters.
is one of the causes
Or are
of
we?
underdevelopment.
Please let me know in the
Moreover,
comment section
colonization
below. The
stunted
Western
the physical
nations
development
has
of the
always
African people
claimed
by creating
the
chronic
entitlement of the
undernourishment
world's
and malnutrition.
democracy. But
During
do
this
they
time,
really
bourgeois
display this
propaganda
democracy to
conditioned
the African
Africans to
continent,
think that
or just
malnutrition
a
was natural.
domination of
An
technological
Oxfam poster
innovations
pictured a
and
black
policies
child
that
with a
will
transparent
always
ribcage and a
subject
bloated
African
stomach.
leaders to the
A
mercy
colonial
of the
town is a city
European
with an
culture.
administrative and
You see,
industrial base.
Julius Malema
In
has
addition
said
to
it
being the
all,
city's center of
point
industry
blank
and administration,
blunt.
These
Or what
towns
do you
attracted
think?
large
Or
numbers
maybe
of
Africans
Africans.
are the problem?
The
Are we just
colonizers
looking
offered jobs
for
based
who to
on
put
unskilled and
blames
irregular
on?
labor.
Or when will
European
Africans
nations
start
created
having a
boundaries for
conversation
African countries
without
without
getting the
taking
right
into account the
involved?
local political
Yes.
systems and
When
ethnic
are we
groups.
owning to our
European
own
colonizers
responsibilities?
primarily focused
Yes,
on
it is
exporting
true
goods
that
and
most
paid
black
little attention
nations
to
are
local
still
development.
new colonized.
They
But
shifted local
what are we
communities' farming
doing as
practices
an
to
African
produce crops
continent of
destined
its
for
own?
European
I know
markets.
the
They
whites
also built rail
have
lines
played
to
a part
transport
in
resources
Africa.
from the
But
interior
again,
to coastal
let's look
ports,
inwards
but did
and
not
ask
develop
ourselves this
regional
question.
links.
African leaders,
While
what are
colonizers
we
were
all
trying to
doing
export goods,
to our
they failed
nation?
to
Are
provide
we
local
being true to
communities with the
ourselves, or
necessary
we keep
resources
on
to support
blaming
themselves?
the Western nation
In the
for every
19th century,
fallout that
European
happens
countries
to us?
began to
This is
settle
just
in
a simple
Africa.
question. I need your
Initially,
response,
only about
your
10% of the
suggestions,
continent was
your
under European
contribution on
control,
this
but in the 20th
matter.
century,
Kindly click on the subscription button and follow us on every other social media platforms. I am Patience Obot for Voice TV Nigeria.